When I first read River of Stars by Guy Gavriel Kay back in 2013, to that point in my life, there had only been 2 instances where I had finished a book, closed its back cover, and had just this visceral, short of breath, don't quite know what to do with myself reaction, where I'm on the verge of crying and laughing and screaming all at the same time. As hyperbolic as it sounds, the only moment in my life that even compares to that feeling is when I had finally fallen in love with somebody. The first of these literary moments happened when I was 19, when I finally finished To Green Angel Tower by Tad Williams. The second happened when I was 24, when I read I Know This Much Is True by Wally Lamb. So evidently some cosmic benefactor was doling out these experiences to me in 5-year intervals, because it also happened with River of Stars when I was 29. I could be bitter and point out the fact that it didn't happen to me when I turned 34, which I'm still really pissed about. I was really excited to go into 34. In truth, when I read River of Stars, it actually caused this reaction twice. Once when I finished the book, and once about 60 pages in. After a scene that I read that just spoke to feminism and honor and love in a way that few books that I have read have done. I closed the cover on my lap and I closed my eyes, and I remember just letting out this big calming breath, because I knew then at page 60 of a 630 page book that this was going to be something big. I sure as hell didn't know at the time that it was going to be top 3 of all time big, but yeah, it was. I think people might be more familiar with Guy Gavriel Kay for writing the book Under Heaven, which reimagined the Tang Dynasty, and River of Stars takes place about 350 to 400 years after that story, as a reimagination of China's Song Dynasty. But this is more like a spiritual successor than it is an actual sequel. But what this book does is see the foundations of that once great Kaye'S empire from Under Heaven crumble. Whether or not that foundation collapses rests on the shoulders of a pretty large cast of characters, from proud yet flawed emperors to culturally significant soldiers, from barbarian invaders to a female poet who uses a very different type of battleground to challenge the role of women in this world. The beating heart of this very large story rests in its characters. Kay continues to ask the question, can one man be the soul of an empire? He asks it again and again throughout the story, and we get different answers each time. Now, should one man be the soul of an empire might be the more pertinent question. The fate of this very large Kaye'S empire is constantly determined by individuals, people who lie and cheat and steal and betray, all for the, I think, well-intentioned glory of the empire. But the problem with individuals is that they're human and they make mistakes. When you're at this level of society, every time you make a bad choice, millions of people can die. And what you have here is a thoughtful emperor who loves art more than he loves the burden of governing people, leaves kind of the day-to-day machinations of his empire to a divided set of advisors, while he is off throwing lives and treasure at this glorious imperial garden that he wants to build. He ends up bankrupting his country and leaving them at the hands of 2 warring factions, ironically because he wants to create something that people can be proud of. Meanwhile, this invading horde is coming in from the north, and what happens is this national restlessness that has been left dormant for generations starts to boil over and causes open warfare from both within and from without. Very, very similar to what you're seeing every day on the political stage. The novel takes place over the course of about 12 to 15 years, and the story is so expansive that some of the characters you fear are going to get lost in just the grandeur of this thing. Luckily, our 2 main characters, Diane, a man, which is spelled D-A-I-Y-A-N, and the poet I mentioned before, Lin Shan, they are far from the only 2 fully fleshed out characters in this novel. There are a dozen at least who come with their own fully fleshed out personalities and flaws and frictions. Kay's characters are heroes, but not quite in the way you expect from large epic fantasies. His characters succeed, not because they're strength in battle or some kind of prowess, but because they're kinder and wiser and smarter than the people around them. And what I love about them is that they aren't your typical fantasy heroes because they can't always change the world around them to fit their ideals. There are often greater forces at work in the world that prevent them from getting what they want. The language of River of Stars is formal, like its people, but also really poetic and elegant, also like its people. Even in moments of really intense action, the language is just like a treat. This is a story about heroism and destiny and the power of myth and how history can vilify and destroy people who deserved more. It's sprawling, yet it's really intimate. It's magical, and yet it's graced with this beautiful humanity. The final chapter of this book is so pitch perfect. It is a powerful but ambiguous conclusion that I think just hits the exact right note. And the reason that I did this review is because after 6 or 7 years, I've decided to reread this book for the first time, and I'm terrified because I loved it so much and I don't want that to be ruined, but it's been so long. I've been putting off this reread for so long. I just can't stand it anymore. And I just wanted to talk to you about it and remember what I loved about this book. And I'm really happy I did this because I'm so fired up. My name is Rick. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you read River of Stars. If not, I hope you read some Guy Gavriel Kay. He's fantastic. Don't read the Fionavar Tapestry. That's the first 3 books that he ever wrote. They are by far the worst 3 books that he ever wrote. Just ignore them. Thank you so much for watching this video and putting up with me once again. I hope you have a great day, week, month, year. Watch Friends.